2019 is now the deadliest year Peoria has seen in 2 decades. Tonight, why a death from last month is now being investigated as a homicide.
And Peoria's gun violence takes a life early this morning, but police have already arrested 3 people in connection.
And 13 years after a woman's mysterious death in LaSalle County, the jury has reached a verdict on whether they believe her husband killed her. Heart of Illinois ABC News at 5 starts now.
Live, this is Heart of Illinois ABC News at 5. Local, social.
Tonight, a 60-year-old woman who worked with special needs adults in Peoria is Peoria's 25th homicide victim. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Bobby Oler.
And I'm Janice Rebholz. Nancy Vorath was found dead on November 23rd, and police just arrested her husband in connection. We're told she worked with Epic in Peoria for more than a decade.
63-year-old Michael Vorath was arrested today for first-degree murder. His wife was found unresponsive and not breathing in a home on West Lexington last month. She was pronounced dead about an hour after paramedics arrived. It wasn't until today that the coroner's office said police are investigating this as a homicide. Coroner Jamie Harwood says he found evidence that she died from drowning and had multiple blunt force injuries.
And the announcement of Vorath's death as a homicide comes just hours after the city picked up its 24th, making 2019 one of the deadliest years in Peoria in the past 20 years. Police already arresting 3 people in connection to this overnight shooting.
2 were arrested for first-degree murder, 20-year-old Thais Walker and 29-year-old Desmond Sanders. And 29-year-old Jasmine Walker was arrested for obstructing justice.
This was the scene early this morning in an alley near Dream Nightclub on Peoria South Side. Now, just before 3 this morning, officers in the area witnessed a man shooting and then driving off. Police found the suspect's vehicle in the 2400 block of Garden. When officers approached the house, a door opened and a pit bull ran out, attacking a Peoria police canine dog. Now, police say they shot the pit bull and the canine was injured and taken to a vet.
Ultimately, police made phone contact with someone in the house and convinced everybody to come out without incident. Police Chief Lauren Marion says since an officer was already on the scene at the club, they made quick work of these arrests.
His quick actions and reaction, I should say, of seeing the muzzle flash and the suspect got into a car and took off through the street knowledge and information that the officers on the street knew the person that owned the vehicle. They knew where he might be located.
Chief Marion says they believe this started as a fight in the club that escalated. Of the 25 homicides this year, he says a number of them have stemmed from this type of violence. He says also to blame are gang and drug violence along with domestic violence.
City leaders and local businesses held a press conference to address the issue of violence in Peoria, especially on the south side.
But during that conference, a war of words broke out between Councilwoman Denise Moore and a business partner with Dream Nightclub. Andy Weber was there when it all happened.
Bobby and Janice, the best way to describe that press conference, extremely tense. Councilwoman Denise Moore was answering questions from reporters about how the shooting would impact the neighborhood and how the community can actually help out. Now, while that was going on, a woman who was actually behind Dream Nightclub interrupted her and started speaking to the reporters. Moore was answering a question about whether or not she wanted the club closed. After saying she did not want to see it closed, Malia Bracy spoke up.
My goal has been to have this club owner take responsibility for what happens.
Why are we having a press conference in front of this club and this is the 24th homicide?
Maliki Bracy continued and wanted to make it clear that Dream is doing everything it can to keep its customers and business safe.
But this is what I'm saying. Things happen all over town.
Yes, it does.
And we at Dream Nightclub, we are sorry that this happened.
I'm
that
glad
was
to hear
my
that.
friend. My daughter was here. She could have walked outside and been right there and got shot and killed in that alleyway.
The back and forth continued, and activist Terry Burnside and Shama St. Louis began to argue. Burnside had been behind the councilwoman at the press conference. Shama had arrived with Malika Bracy.
Nobody's bashing the club.
I'm not going to argue
Nobody's
with you.
bashing the club.
This is counterproductive. So
What y'all
I'm either
doing
going to talk to
counterproductive?
media in support of Malika. I'm okay to have an opposing
Support
view.
some of these black lives where y'all out here. Where y'all at? I'm out here every day, boots to the ground. Where y'all at with these crime scenes?
Wonderful.
Where y'all at?
Let me tell you
I
what
don't see none of y'all. I don't want to hear that. I don't see none of y'all.
We're not gonna argue.
While a Dream nightclub says they felt they were being blamed, Councilwoman Moore made it very clear that she does not want to blame or close the business for what occurred earlier this morning. She said rather have everyone in the city take responsibility for what occurred. One thing that people can agree on is that they are very upset. Reporting in Peoria, I'm Andy Weber, Heart of Illinois, ABC. Back to you.
Thank you, Andy. And there will be a candlelight vigil this weekend in Peoria to remember those lost to gun violence. Mothers Against Gun Violence say since the Sandy Hook massacre on December 14, 2012, more than 700,000 Americans have been killed or hurt by guns. The vigil is going to be outside the federal building on Northeast Monroe from 4 to 5:30 tomorrow night. Religious leaders from around the area are going to lead the event with a prayer and reflection. And in LaSalle County, a man was found not guilty of murdering his wife 13 years ago.
It did not take long for the jury to reach the verdict for 52-year-old Kenneth Cusick. This was Cusick leaving the courtroom with loved ones this afternoon, flustered, emotional. Cusick's wife, Tracy, was found dead in their bathroom in 2006. The Ottawa firefighter wasn't arrested until 2017 when he was accused of drowning her in the toilet.
And throughout the trial, Cusick's lawyer argued that Tracy had previous problems with substance abuse and argued that Tracy likely overdosed. Cusick and his family did not talk to us after the trial, but his lawyer did.
Pretty tired. I'm just happy that it's over. I think everybody did a good job, and we can finally put it to rest.
The family of Tracy Cusick tells us they were upset by the verdict. We spoke with them as well. You'll hear from them coming up at 5:30. But for now, you hear from Janice Redpolz, filling in for Chief Meteorologist Brian Walder tonight.
Yes, Brian left me to be the bearer of bad news. We've been spoiled with decent weather over the past couple of days with above average temperatures, but that's all going to change this weekend. You can see on that satellite radar the clouds kind of circling around Peoria, but they're going to make its way into the area as we anticipate a drizzle tonight. Right now in Peoria, about 44 degrees, not bad for the middle of December. In Bloomington, normal, about 39, and winds are calm. But like I said, big changes anticipated this weekend. We're going to see some overnight drizzle into your Saturday, colder temperatures ahead, and even snow. I'll tell you all about that coming up in my full precision forecast.
New tonight, we've learned the man that police say crossed a center line in a fatal crash this week should never have been behind the wheel. This crash on Tuesday claimed the life of 20-year-old Caitlin Gard Crow. She was driving on Springfield Road when police say Jesse St. Clair drove into her lane. The Tazewell County Sheriff confirmed that St. Clair's driver's license was suspended and there was a warrant out for his arrest. Meanwhile, for Crow's family, they are left mourning the loss of a young woman they described as kind, caring, and funny. It's a tough loss, especially right before the holidays.
I feel like the rest of my family, we want to cancel Christmas and just pretend like December doesn't exist. But we'll be with Mom, delivering meals and doing what Katie loved. Anything that Katie would have wanted, we'll do.
Katie's visitation and celebration of life are tomorrow. Coming up at 5:30, how Katie's mom was caught in traffic by the very crash that claimed the life of the 20-year-old. After months of investigation and weeks of public hearing and partisan clashes, today the House Judiciary Committee passed 2 articles of impeachment against the president.
Committee members voted along strict party lines, with Republicans furious, and President Trump says he's not worried. ABC's Inya De La Cantera has the latest from Washington.
It was a speedy conclusion to a marathon impeachment hearing.
Aye.
Mr. Jeffries?
Aye.
The House Judiciary Committee voting along strict party lines, 23-17, on 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The committee's Democratic majority arguing President Trump must be removed from office to protect the integrity of future elections.
He betrayed the nation. He moved us toward corrupt elections. And he abused his power.
But Republicans are slamming the move.
I have never in my entire life seen such an unfair, rigged railroad job against the President of the United States.
The vote makes Trump just the 4th president in U.S. history to face impeachment by the House.
I got to see enough of it, and certainly I spoke to my people.
It's a witch hunt, it's a sham, it's a hoax.
Trump now looking ahead to an all but certain Senate impeachment trial, some advising him to stick to a shorter process so he can focus on other issues like his re-election campaign. But the president says he hasn't made up his mind yet.
We did nothing wrong, so I'll do long or short. I've heard Mitch, I've heard Lindsey. I wouldn't mind a long process because I'd like to see the whistleblower who's a fraud.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying he is working in total coordination with the White House, telling Fox News,
"There's zero chance the president obviously would be removed from office, and I'm hoping we'll have no defections at all."
And Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer responding that if there is a trial, every single senator will take an oath to render impartial justice.
And the historic vote next week is going to draw reactions from all corners, and college students are studying this as it happens in real time. One instructor at Bradley University believes that the House will impeach the president next week, but the Senate will not remove him.
A majority is not enough to convict President Trump of anything. It has to be a supermajority. It's got to be 67 senators. But I think if they had the ability to say that a majority, more than half of the senators voted to convict him, that would be a selling point for the Democrats in the 2020 presidential election.
Professor Remmel feels that the interesting group to watch in this whole thing is the Republican senators who vote to impeach the president, even though they know there aren't enough votes to actually remove him.
Local U.S. Senator Dick Durbin is introducing a new bill targeting e-cigarettes. In Chicago today, he announced new legislation he calls the PREVENT Act, aimed at ending teen vaping. The proposed legislation would direct $2 million federal dollars toward a prevention program for lowering e-cig use at schools. But who's going to pay for this?
Our bill is funded by creating a new fee on the e-cigarette companies who created this crisis in the first place. Make no mistake, e-cigarette companies like Juul target children.
That user fee on manufacturers and importers will be collected quarterly. Yesterday, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul announced the state is suing Juul for promoting vaping to teens.
Coming up after the break, a look at the Christmas events around the heart of Illinois this weekend.
And it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas with snow on the way and cooler temperatures. I'll time it all out coming up after the break.